Hello, my friends. My name is Darren Gerdes. I'm just a professor trying to help you understand context in the war in Ukraine. This is the Three Big Stories segment. I do the daily brief first thing in the morning in my time, Eastern Standard Time in the United States. And then at the end of the day, I do three big stories. Three big stories are usually more political than military, but sometimes it ebbs and flows. Okay, so the big story right now is that Putin is in North Korea, or at least he was today. He's just leaving North Korea in order to go to Vietnam. But a North Korean singer performed military songs by pro-Kremlin performers. North Koreans unfurled the Russian flag. They essentially laid out the red carpet for him when he visited Pyongyang. Now, North Korea, compared to Russia, is really interesting. If you look at a GDP of Russia, it's 2.24 trillion US dollars. That's about the size of the state of Texas in GDP. North Korea, on the other hand, is 48.3 billion with a B, not trillion with a T. It's a very different thing. It's about the size in GDP of the smallest state in the United States in terms of GDP, and that's Vermont. And it's just a weird look to see Putin going to Kim with his hand out because he needs from Kim more than Kim needs from Putin. This is Jason J. Smart. Russia equals North Korea equals Iran equals China. I'm not sure that's quite fair, especially to China, but at least the first three seem to be lined up exactly right. Due to our paranoia over escalation, he says, even North Korea does not fear America's wrath for assisting our enemies. And that's proving to be true in what is happening now. Let's look at the articles. Here's Al Jazeera. Kim vows full support for Russia in Ukraine as Putin visits Pyongyang. Just one couple of paragraphs here. North Korean leader Kim Jong-un has promised, quote, full support and solidarity for Russia's war in Ukraine. And a little bit further, it was a show of strength, a show of unity, heralding what they believe and want other people to believe is a new era in their relations. It has all culminated in the signing of a new agreement between the two, which according to Putin forms the basis of relations for years to come. Now, again, I have to go back to this, that the GDP of Russia is 2.24 trillion and the GDP of North Korea is only 48.3 billion. And so, like, what exactly is he getting? But North Korea is big because they have nuclear technology, or pretty poor, but still nuclear technology, and they've been sitting on stockpile of ammunition that they've been developing over the last 50, 60, 70 years that they haven't done anything with, well, not since the Korean War. And so they could be punching a little bit above their weight of 48.3 billion, but they're still one of the most impoverished countries for its size on Earth. Okay. Let's look at this. Russia and North Korea sign a partnership deal as Kim pledges full support for Putin's Ukraine war. This is from France 24. A new partnership that includes a vow of mutual aid if either country faces aggression. Like, what aggression are they facing? Aggression in a pact that came as both face escalating standoffs with the West. As if America is just was on the edge of invading either country and, now they're defended because they have each other. Details. Now, I read this and I thought it sounds like some kind of story about a prince wooing a princess. Just listen to this. It's almost weird. Details of the deal were not immediately clear, but it could mark the strongest connection between Moscow and Pyongyang since the end of the Cold War. Kim said that the two countries had a fiery relationship and that the deal was the strongest ever treaty between them, putting the relationship at the level of an alliance. Putin said that it was a breakthrough document reflecting shared desire to move relations to a higher level. Kim gave Putin a lavish welcome, meeting him at the airport, where the two shook hands, hugged twice, and rode together in a limousine. The huge motorcade rolled through the city's brightly lit streets, where buildings were decorated with giant Russian flags and portraits of Putin. Doesn't it sound like a prince wooing his fairy tale princess? I mean, it just sounds strange, creepy almost. After spending the night at the state guest house, Putin was welcomed in a ceremony at the city's main square, filled with what appeared to be tens of thousands of spectators, including children with balloons and people wearing coordinated t-shirts in the red, white, and blue national colors of both countries. Huge crowds lined the streets chanting, "Welcome Putin," and waving flowers and North Korean and Russian flags. It just, again, it just seems creepy. What kind of support was promised in the agreement was not spelled out, but they're both blaming the crisis on the US-led West's hegemonic policy. Yeah, the hegemonic policy of America, which apparently caused Russia to invade Ukraine. That's what they're trying to explain here. Okay, so that's what's happened so far in North Korea. Now, this was just a few minutes ago. Russia and North Korea signed a partnership deal that appears strongest since the Cold War. And just one paragraph here from North Korea, Putin is now traveling to Vietnam. Now, again, remember I showed you the GDP here, 48.3 billion as a country with that kind of GDP isn't a lot, except if you can collect a few of these, so going from there to Vietnam, and if you can repeat the trick there in Hanoi, he can start collecting some kind of power. From North Korea, Putin traveled to Vietnam, where he exited his plane onto a red carpet and briefly shook hands with dignitaries, while soldiers in white dress uniforms stood at attention. In Hanoi, Putin is scheduled to meet with Vietnam's most powerful politician, Communist Party General Secretary Trong, and new President Lam, as the Russian leader seeks to strengthen its ties with a longtime partner. Okay, so, maybe something will come of that as well, and we'll see how that all plays out and what kind of agreements they can get, what kind of weapons he can get. Putin desperately needs Kim far more than Kim needs Putin, and this is pretty clear. Okay, second story. I keep getting questions about F-16s. When will F-16s get to Ukraine? The truth is, I don't know. The truth is, I would have expected it to be here by now, and it's been pushed back. It's right now, as I talk, past mid-June. I don't know if it'll get there in July, but it's promised to be there by the summer, so that would be August, but we don't know. What I do know is this: F-16s are to be deployed in Ukraine itself, not to be housed in, say, Poland and then fly back over Ukraine and then go back to Poland. So they have to make preparations so that these planes aren't blown up, or that they're protected, or in some kind of underground bunker or something, whatever it is. F-16 fighter jets transferred to Ukraine will be based on Ukrainian territory, U.S. President's National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan said in an interview with PBS. It should be a capability based in Ukraine, Sullivan explained, answering a question about the Ukrainian proposal to deploy fighter jets outside of Ukraine. So it'll be inside Ukraine. He's very, very overly cautious and doesn't want to have any chance of anything except that being the case. Meanwhile, Denmark is announcing its 19th aid package for Ukraine, which includes F-16s, and the Danish are saying that they will be in Ukraine this summer. And again, the summer is ebbing away. It's mid-June, and so not later than, I guess, August, joining those from the Netherlands, Belgium, and Norway. Okay, so that's what's going on with the F-16s. Northrop Grumman is a arms producer, and they're going to start producing medium caliber ammunition in Ukraine. This is marking the first publicly acknowledged U.S.-Ukrainian co-production agreement worth $2 billion. Now, this is a big story. This is the third big story, and it's a big story for a reason. There is only one other country that I'm aware of, and it was like Denmark or Norway or something, I can't remember which, that was going to start producing. I talked about it a few days ago, but some things are starting to run together, that are going to produce in Ukraine. And that's a big step forward for Ukraine to have things being produced there. Here's another view of that. First major American corporation announces plans to manufacture arms in Ukraine. Here's the Kyiv Post article about it and what they're going to be doing. $2 billion U.S. financed assistance program, and they're going to provide a range of shells here: 25 millimeter, 30, 40, 50 meter, 155 millimeter shells. Okay, so that's what's going on there. Last little bit, if you haven't seen this before, Putin squads burn portraits of the German chancellor and praise Russian beer. Okay, that's it, Schultz. You're off your game. We have our own light, non-alcoholic Asher Oni beer made from Bavarian malt. Okay. The barley is grown in our own barley fields. During the Krasnodar hot weather, I always drink non-alcoholic beer that I cannot pronounce. Oh, what a great beer. Compared to the German beer, this beer that I cannot pronounce, non-alcoholic beer, is the best beer. West, you wanted to deprive us of Bavarian beer. You succeeded. We now drink our own beer, non-alcoholic beer that I can't pronounce, which is produced here and drunk by all of Russia from our own Bavarian malt. And when we want something live, we buy live hooligan beer. Wonderful, same producer, just watch out, don't be a hooligan. And then they spend time burning pictures of Schultz. It's some remarkable propaganda. They burn well with this name of the beer I can't pronounce. Okay, well, that's all that I have, folks. Thanks for the time. Thanks for the likes, the shares, the subscribes, and thank you for being the kind of person that cares about Ukraine.